And with just 3 months to go till this year's election, there are concerns over Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's health, which has raised questions about what would happen if her seat became vacant. Well, Ginsburg, who is 87 years old, was treated for liver cancer last month and was reportedly just in the hospital last week. Well, now to be clear, the Associate Justice said her chemotherapy is going well and she intends to stay on the court as long as she is able. But if that should change, what happens to her seat? Well, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was asked about that last year, and here's what he said.
If the Supreme Court justice was to die next year, what would you do?
We'd fill it.
People laugh, but if you recall, back in 2016, Republicans, citing an election year, blocked the nomination of Merrick Garland, Obama's pick to fill that seat vacated by the death of Justice Scalia. And Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski says the GOP should be mindful of a similar situation, saying this, quote, when Republicans held off Merrick Garland, it was because 9 months prior to the election was too close. We need to let people decide, and I agree to do that. If we now say that months prior to election is okay when 9 months was not, that is a double standard, and I don't believe we should do it. So I would not support it, end quote. Well, Democrats say they would retaliate if Republicans forged ahead with filing a vacancy. But considering the importance of the Supreme Court, what should the GOP do? Well, let's ask Jordan Sekulow, Executive Director, American Center for Law and Justice, and member of President Trump's legal team. Jordan, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, this is an interesting situation if RBG does step down or because of health issues unknown. But what is the advice to the GOP? Should they forge ahead and try to fill the seat or wait and say, this is the reason that you have to elect Trump?
Well, first, you always have to be ready. I mean, in the case of Justice Ginsburg, she's proven time and time again she's a fighter. So I think, and she's gone through so much that people put a lot of weight in that, and then a lot of breaking news alerts on that. But she is a fighter. So, but there's a lot of anything could happen. I mean, justices who are 60, justices who are 87, justices who are, the two most liberal, two liberal judges, justices on the court. You have Justice Ginsburg at 87, Justice Breyer at 81. On the conservative side, you've got two in their 70s. So, I mean, anything can happen. And also they can just step down because they want to step down or they feel like it's too much. It's not just because they pass away or something like that. But I believe that if this happened now, if there was a vacancy now, and Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, can get the votes together, Harry Reid set the precedent to kill the filibuster on judicial nominees. All Republicans did was take it one step further and said, if you're going to do it for all of the nominees but the Supreme Court, we're not going to let you block our Supreme Court nominees. So that's moved forward. So I think what's clear here is that if Republicans have the votes and you don't, you can lose a vote here or there to get this through, they should absolutely move forward. And I think a top candidate for that position, though there's many, because we have not gotten that list yet that President Trump promised like he did in 2016, would be Judge Amy Barrett of the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, a former law clerk to Justice Scalia, her very well-known conservative, and has been now on the bench for 4 or 5 years. And I think that she'd be a top contender, but there would be others. And we're talking about, again, if in this short time frame, because I think it would have to be people known.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting is you saw Murkowski's quote about the double standard. I think Mitch McConnell would argue that at that time in 2016, you had a president that was a Democrat and a Republican Senate that was a Republican of opposite parties. Now they're the same party. Therefore, it's a different scenario. Do you think that that's enough justification to move forward, or does the Merrick Garland situation prevent them from moving forward in terms of a political argument?
No, I don't think so at all. And I think you're absolutely right, Sean, about the first part. Politics and elections have consequences. They have consequences of who gets onto the U.S. Supreme Court. And when Republicans control the U.S. Senate, they could have kept filibustering every single nominee put forward until they felt like there was one they would accept. There's nothing that would have stopped them from that. That is no longer the case. That's no longer the case because Harry Reid decided to put that rule in place for all nominees up unless they were a Supreme Court nominee. When Republicans took over, they said, you know what? We're not going to let Democrats stop our nominees to the court with a filibuster. We're going to do what Harry Reid did, because now we're in control. And so I think that because you add those two factors together, as long as there was the time to get the nomination done, to have the hearings, I know the Democrats would scream and shout. But honestly, think about the impact it would have two ways. One, it would have likely a major impact on the court and take the court in a more conservative direction. Two, it would energize the conservative base right before an election.
Yes.
So do we really care about a bunch of Democrat senators who want Donald Trump to lose and Republican senators to lose, about them screaming and shouting that we got another conservative nominee onto the Supreme Court? I don't think so.
Hey, Jordan, we're basically out of time, but I want to ask you, just from a political standpoint, don't you think you mentioned that list, that the Trump team needs to put that list out as soon as possible?
Yeah, I think because of this news we've heard about Justice Ginsburg, and it keeps breaking. It is important that full list, so that groups like us, Sean, have time to go through it and kind of analyze who would the top 5, 6, who do we find issues that we don't like, maybe within some of their past statements, opinions, rulings, speeches. But I think also I agree with Senator Hawley. My final statement, our senators need to be a lot tougher if they expect us, groups like ours, to back these nominees and use the resources that we do from our donors to back these nominees. I no longer am going to accept this answer of, well, I can't really talk about Roe versus Wade. I can't really give you answers on that.
Yeah,
I agree with Senator Hawley.
Thank you. Hey,
we've got to be tougher.
Jordan, thank you. That's exactly the point. Why are we backing down on our issues? The left uses that as a litmus test, and we're afraid to ask it. I want people that are going to fight for the Constitution, fight for life, all these issues, and the right has got to stop being such wimps about it. I appreciate it. Thank you for what you guys are doing.
Thanks, Sean. Absolutely, and love joining the broadcast anytime.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Newsmax TV is now America's fastest growing cable news channel. We give you the real news you need. So subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up. If you like this video, share it with your friends. Newsmax TV streams live on YouTube for free. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.